My play, La Negra, is my play dedicated to Mexico, and the play takes place in and around the time period of, late September, early November, during the Day of the Dead festivals and rituals. But the play really branches out, just not being about the Day of the Dead, but actual dead culture and how that has transferred from indigenous culture to the modern day worshiping of La Santa Muerte.
So it's less about thinking and more about what is this?
The piece centers on a woman named La Negra who transforms into La Santa Muerte. If you look more into La Santa, there is a fear around her. People love La Santa, but they also fear her as much as they love her. And I find that really fascinating, because then they understand that there is something also in the feminine divine that is dangerous, and that's part of womanhood as well. So I think that's really drew me into La Santa.
I feel like this work and how Raquel writes and what she writes about is so tremendously a place for us to see deeper than what we might actually understand just by first glance. La Negra we're thinking about it as an installation, we're thinking about it as a theater, we're thinking about it as ritual, we're thinking about it in all these different forms. And one of the things that we're starting to come to is, how are we entering into the space to honor our dead? What is actually that?
When you see this piece, there's lots of multiple dimensions, and we play with the idea that at one moment characters are in the land of the living, and that there are other characters from the land of the dead. I feel that the magic in the ordinary comes from the building of these offerings and ofrendas, and so we are carefully and mindfully creating materials that we will be using everything from candles inside of water, offerings of food to spirits. And so it's with these particular elements that a simple piece of fruit then brings all these kind of spiritual elements.
Ben Rojas is our visual artist that we're collaborating with, and he builds ofrendas. He specifically says ofrendas are not altars, but knows that it's a way of sort of communicating with the Western audience.
An ofrenda is, for lack of better words in English, it's an altar. Ofrenda means offering in Spanish. So an ofrenda is an offering to our ancestors. In our tradition, you're making the ofrenda so the ancestors can notice it and come down and enjoy that time. With this production like La Negra, I'm kind of challenging myself. How can I challenge myself to make this ofrenda move? Which is, I've never heard of anything like that, of an ofrenda moving, which I think is kind of cool. I'm really uncomfortable with what I'm doing there, and I think that's okay, because it's gonna help me grow as an ofrenda maker, as an installation artist.
La Negra's relationship with the United States is she has a couple of lines in there that make it very clear that she's very clearly guarded and saying, okay, if the United States is my enemy, well, then I'm going to profit from my enemy.
Glass encased I will be, so that those hijo de putas cannot put holes through my holy hands.
I think there's a lot of stereotypical views of Mexico, and currently now with the administration, with this idea that Mexicans and Mexican immigrants are seen as bad hombres, or those that we do not want crossing across our border, and that there's literally this wall being built. And I think that this piece confronts the history between the two countries. I particularly point to the origins of how are you going to criminalize people in which dealing drugs has become one of the only form of empowerment, and that again it comes down to simple supply and demand. The United States are the major consumers of it, so to criminalize only the quote-unquote maker or the distributor of this product, to me, is ridiculous. And I think that the play really seeks to reframe that relationship and look at the actual conditions. Specifically for myself, my plays focus on the experiences of women, and how this character, La Negra, goes from being a child prostitute to one of the country's most feared women.
Y cranios de chocolate.
This is set in Tijuana. This is set in a drug cartel compound. There is cocaine everywhere, guns. This is a place where we see the intersection of religion and the life in a way that's unflinching.
Perhaps you can see what I no longer can.
When I first started writing, some people's responses even to me saying that I was a female playwright, they would say, oh, I didn't know women did that. You know, that even the concept of women, you know, striving to become literary figures, I think was actually something that wasn't very accessible to me as a young woman. And then when I started consuming history, it was so pervasively male that I really sought to find other models of like where I didn't see my own narrative, my own experience. And starting as a performer, of course, you get placed in these pieces that where men are the main characters and women are just kind of pieces that move around. And with my plays, Latin is America, I place women in the forefront of particular histories of each country. And so with this particular piece in La Negra, I look at how has the violence in Mexico and in Central America affected the bodies of women and the history of women, and how are women responding?
Mexico City is my panocha. 25 million people come in and out of my passage. This is the capital, hueputas! The center of la vida y la muerte. My gun is my cock.
What does it mean to be on this journey with her as she goes through these deep psychological understandings of her journey from being 10 years old, being sold by her mother, into prostitution, into becoming the most powerful drug cartel queen in Tijuana?
I grew up with a lot of violence in my home, and there was a moment where I stepped into that violence and I changed the narrative, and I realized that's theater. When I first experienced live performance or live presentation, it felt as if I could reverse the violence that had been done against me and others. If we don't actually start to learn and model how women are creating like new structures of healing in order to move forward, then it's like we're kind of stuck in the 1950s, like atom bomb, you know, who's gonna push the red button first, which I think is a very male conversation. And I think women are really dedicating themselves to like transforming this world. How do we not only like maintain the earth itself, but like actually continue to move forward? And I think only women know how to do that.
Then I don't have my glasses, so I can't see you.
I'm here, it's okay. For the whitest person ever.
La Negra is, you know, she has no bounds as to like what is feminine or what is it that a woman can or cannot do. I think that she also, this character really also challenges like our notion of like what womanhood is or what femininity is. When I let La Santa Muerte into my heart, I said, oh, this is a woman that accepts all parts of me and that there's no limitations to what she can do.
For those of you who don't believe in me, pues que te jodes! No, I will know forgiveness now too.